All right, good afternoon, everyone. Everyone can hear me? Yeah, sounds good? Yes? Cool. Okay, thank you very much for having us here today. Really excited to be here. My name is Justin. I come from Facebook. I lead our agency team across the region. A little bit about me. We always start with authentic identity when we talk about Facebook. So we always include our Facebook profile. So if you did look for my name, you will see this profile page. I've been with the company for 3 years. I have an ex-colleague in the audience, Jeremy. I used to come from an advertising agency and a bit of time at LinkedIn as well. I'm also, between my wife and I, are probably definitely within your target audience as well. We have a 2-year-old son, and we love him dearly. Cool. So the entire time that I've worked at Facebook, the entire 3 years, we've kind of always talked about the world going mobile, and you probably would have seen a lot of articles and a lot of studies talking about the world is going mobile. Well, the reality of the situation here is actually the world has already gone mobile. So if you forget everything I say over the next 20 to 25 minutes, remember this: mobile, the world has gone mobile, and mobile is now actually your first screen in order to reach your target audience at scale. I'd love to talk about, and I'll leave plenty of time for discussion and questions thereafter. And in building your business and reaching your target audience, they're about these 3 things: a discovery mindset, it's about relevance, and it's about thumb-stopping creative. And I'll spend a little bit of time talking about these things, and do feel free to ask me questions thereafter. So firstly, discovery mindset. What do we mean by this? What we mean by this is that in the digital world, and actually in the traditional world, there are broadly 2 different types of things that are going on pre-mobile. Firstly is disruption. Right, the pre-roll is in the way or ahead of the Jimmy Fallon video I want to watch. The TVC is in the middle of American Idol or Singapore Idol or your favorite TV shows. And then on the other end of the spectrum is search. Your target audiences already know what they want, and they're actually jumping into a search engine and actually typing physically what they are looking for. Where discovery plays a role and where your first screen, the mobile phone, plays a role is right in the middle. Because the mobile phone is a personal device. The mobile phone and the apps you have and the experiences that you have and the content that is served through your news feed on Facebook and Instagram, for that matter, is all completely personalized to you. And you're thumbing through your news feed, you're looking at status updates and photos coming from your friends, from family, from pages you like, from groups you join, and you discover content that is relevant to you. Or your target audience is discovering relevant content or content coming from Kleenex that is relevant to your target audience. And that is the role that the mobile channel plays. What are they discovering? One, they're discovering video on Facebook. You would have seen your personal news feeds, your personal newspapers come to life with sight, sound, and motion. So a couple of great things about that video is that all of that content, that video content, was being delivered on the first screen. And it was being delivered not in a disruptive way, not in a way that you already know what you're looking for, or that you're in the market for a Ford Mustang or a Brioche. But you're discovering this content. You're discovering this relevant to you on the mobile device. And actually, every day, over 8 billion video views are happening around the world on Facebook, and actually 2/3 of that is happening on the mobile device. So the mobile is super, super important, and it really is your first screen. Now, especially in the region that we operate in Southeast Asia, not everyone is going to have the luxury of a smartphone. Not everyone is going to have the luxury of a high-speed data network or can afford data. And these may also fall into your target audience, but it's still really important for you to reach these people as well in order to achieve your objectives. And there are solutions for that as well in order to reach them. Introducing Slideshow. Slideshow is essentially like a PowerPoint format taking key frames of your TVC or of your video content and serving it to those people that only have access to slower data networks, or they don't have access to Wi-Fi, or are on lower-end smartphones. And you can therefore deliver the same story, tell the same story, and deliver the same messages as you can in a video format. And here's an example. On the left-hand side, you're showing a piece of video content to a member of your target audience that has access to a 4G network. And yet, on the right-hand side, you're just taking key frames of that same content and telling the exact same story for those people on a 2G network at 1/5 of the file size. So you're being absolutely conscious and relevant of your target audience's user experience on their first screen. So that's absolutely possible as well. Now, going back to the richer and more innovative side of our solutions to reach your target audience is Canvas. Canvas allows you at basically the Canvas experience is if you were a member of Gatorade's target audience, you may have seen this post in your personal newspaper, your news feed, and you might want to find out more. So on one click, with no buffering time, we'll deliver a full screen experience within Facebook consisting of a mix of images, copy, and video to allow your target audience to immerse themselves in your brand. And again, this is done with no buffering time because it's within the app environment. It actually doesn't require expensive development time. It's a case of having those assets and configuring them in our systems, and really allows your target audience to really kind of go deeper and understand more about the products and services that you provide them. And so this is relatively new, launched end of February, and encourage you to definitely check it out. We call it Canvas because it really is a blank canvas. You can do a lot with this. Cool. And finally, relevance. What I encourage you to think about is actually, when you think about the personal device, you're no longer thinking about mass target audiences, you're thinking about people. So I really would encourage you to think about real people. And just to kind of delve into that a little bit further, I was really strong partners with your agency partners, and we work with a lot of agencies and clients around the world. And typically when we receive briefs, it would sound something like this. I would love to raise awareness of a new product or new brand. I would love to target women or mums aged 25 to 45. Now, what we're doing with a brief like that is that we're treating this 25 to 45 audience as a homogeneous mass. But if you think about it on the very extremes, a mother who is 25 is fundamentally different in the values, attitudes, life stages, as well as consumption of goods and services as a mother who is 45. And so it is actually quite unfair to them to be serving a plain vanilla piece of content to that broad-based target audience. And so therefore, if you peel a layer of the onion, what you find is that all of these people in the mother 25 to 45 age group I timed that dramatic pause. All of these, okay. All of these mothers in the 25 to 45 age group are all individuals. They are all real people. And actually, that is one of the biggest values of the Facebook platform. Because when you and I joined Facebook as individuals, for me, not as an employee, I mentioned my name. You know, one of the things in presentation skills course is actually you should actually use the pause. So I'm using the pause strategically right now. I mentioned my name, my birthday, where I lived, where I was born, where I studied, my relationship status. And over time, over the years, I updated my relationship status, as you saw up front. I changed where I worked, I changed where I lived, I specified my interest, I liked certain pages, I joined certain groups, I engaged with specific pieces of content. All of this stuff allows you as marketers to understand who I am as a real person. And a real person across desktop, across smartphone, and across my iPad, because I am accessing Facebook across all of these devices. So what that allows you to do is, instead of reaching a mother 25 to 45 here in Southeast Asia, you could potentially reach someone, for example, by the name of Caroline, who is 42, a mother of 3 children, who likes volleyball, who's a healthy food buyer, and is a heavy mobile device user, actually uses Facebook on the Android. Versus on the right-hand side, at the very worst case scenario, an empty couch where you're serving a TVC to. Because you just do not know if your target audience is sitting on that couch, let alone sitting on that couch and paying 100% attention to your 30-second TVC. So in Southeast Asia, over 241 million people are accessing Facebook every single month, 94% of which is happening on mobile, and actually a really, really large proportion of these people are accessing Facebook every single day, on average 14 times a day. Now, to put that into perspective, think about what you and I do as people every single day. Every single day, we take a shower, we brush our teeth, and we check Facebook. This is the reality. And they're checking Facebook. 94% of these people are checking Facebook on the first screen. Finally, thumb-stopping creative. What do we mean by that? As you venture, if you buy into the fact that mobile is the first screen, and that you start planning and ideating for mobile, one of the common questions and objections that we do get from clients and agencies is that, oh, the mobile screen is so small that it limits us creatively. However, this may have been the case in the past when we all had our 5110s or 3210s, and all we could do was SMS or Snake. Over time, we introduced photos, and everyone started taking photos and sharing photos and viewing photos and posting photos. Most recently, as we talked about, video is now absolutely possible, and you would have seen your news feeds come to life. And then there's VR and AR. The ability to immerse yourself into a physical environment just by tilting your mobile device. Imagine the power of this in this Star Wars example, immersing yourself into the movie, or immersing yourself into a mother's group to share tips and ideas, immersing yourself into a virtual supermarket to touch and feel without actually having to go there. All of these things are absolutely possible, and they are facilitated by the first screen, which is the mobile device. So I hope you buy that mobile is the first screen, and I hope you buy and hope you get that you should be planning and therefore ideating with that small screen first and then going into other things. Now, the reality of the situation is when we go around to see work with our partners, both clients and agencies, is that it's still very early days. The journey is 1% complete. And the ideating and the planning is still coming from that massive screen and then going small. So you can take those baby steps to go from that large screen to that small screen very, very simply. And the last case I want to share is second last case, I think, is on Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola a couple of years ago booked a very, very expensive slot during halftime of the Super Bowl. They created this beautiful TVC called America is Beautiful, celebrating the diversity of America. And they traveled the country to all sorts of different locations. They spent a lot of money employing a lot of different talent and manifested in this beautiful 30-second TVC. What our team in the US were able to do was say, hey, Coca-Cola, we can take the entire population of Facebook users in the United States, and we can actually find subsegments of your broad target audience. So what we found were 18.5 million new parents. We found 8.2 million Mexicans people of Mexican descent, 1.6 million Native Americans, and you see all of those subsegments there. And so therefore, what happened was we took that creative asset and everything that was on the cutting room floor and repurposed all of this stuff to be absolutely relevant to those subsegments of that target audience. So if you are in America and of Middle Eastern descent, you would have seen this content. If you were a member of the Hispanic community, you would have seen this content, and so on and so forth. And I just want to show you what the TVC looked like and how simple it really was.
Skies. Por tus olas de granos tambar, yo piscinat sa kuti. Sa ibabaw ng mga prutas. America, America, God shed His grace on thee. Orba hijre ke saath taj tera cha, tu la mer bria. Verra tu verrière tir retard from sea to shining sea.
So beautiful TVC, much like the beautiful content that you guys also produce. A lot of work gone into it, a lot of locations, a lot of talent. How can you get more utility out of it while tapping into the first screen? And that's exactly what we did, and that's absolutely the opportunity for you guys as well, as you migrate to the first screen. I'll let this run as well. This last case study was recently from Nestlé Temptations in the Philippines, and they really wanted to take advantage of the first screen quite early on in the market to differentiate themselves in order to achieve their brand objectives, which was around positioning Nestlé Temptations as a premium product, a premium ice cream product. And so they produced a lot of video content specific to Facebook and leveraging our best practices. Video content as well, and as you can see, there are some of the interesting results that we got there as well. Most importantly, of course, is the last one, a 30% increase in sales. And we also ran a study with them in partnership with Nielsen, and saw. Sorry. And saw a 6-point lift in message association above the category norms. So as I talk about results, we are not measuring success by engagement rates, likes, number of fans accumulated, or anything like that. It is all about increase in sales and connected back to business results and brand results, such as message association, and they really saw their target audience understand that Nestlé Temptations was a premium ice cream product. Cool. So that takes me to the end, and where I'd like to close is really, if you really buy into the fact that the mobile is the first screen, not only is it the first screen, it really can move people. If you think about the content you see in your feed, your baby photos from your friends, holiday photos from your family, wedding photos, they make you laugh, they make you smile. There is an emotional connection to that mobile device. But you can also move business as well, because it moves people to act, it moves people to consider, it moves people to trial, and it moves people to buy your product and services. So with that, thank you very much, and I think we have a few minutes for questions, so thank you. It doesn't have to be related to the content, it can be anything.
There are 3 questions up here on the live board. So.
Yeah. Okay, does Facebook allow third-party tracking on video completed views? No, we don't allow third-party tracking on completed video views. We allow third-party tracking just on impressions. As a brand, we need to know how our video performance from creative, how creative is performing. Okay. I guess I'll just address that point as well. video views or video completion rates are not necessarily the best proxy to understand whether your video performance is good, okay? We do hear a lot from clients and from agencies to say, okay, I want to drive video views, and the success of my marketing campaign is that I delivered 1 million video views. Now, I want to share a story on that. There was an agency, a small agency in the US that wanted to put this thing to the test. What they did was they produced a 4-minute video which was plain white. It was plain white. It had nothing on it. They put it onto YouTube, they put paid media behind it, and they delivered 1 million video views. What does that do for that agency's ad recall, awareness, message association, intent to find out more about that agency? I hope you agree that it's absolutely nothing, right? So therefore, that's why video views in and of itself is not a good understanding of whether the creative is good, your campaign is successful, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm happy to take any follow-up questions or challenges on that one as well if you don't understand. Yes?
I think the question's really about video completed views.
Yep.
So one of the challenges we have is that we pay for an impression on Facebook of videos. Facebook dictates an impression as being 3 seconds, which is essentially a swipe. So there is every opportunity that I'm being presented with a budget to spend to say you need to spend this much to get 1 million views. And I totally agree with you that video views aren't the right ways to measure engagement. But what other tools does Facebook provide us in regards to how we measure that?
Yep.
My understanding is we need to spend about $100,000 in order to get a brand uplift study completed by Facebook. But the challenge is persuading my procurement people
who is my ex-colleague, by the way.
That this is an appropriate spend in order to actually get the engagement measures that we want to get. So I'm just kind of interested in ways you think that we could actually better measure the engagement success of our Facebook campaigns.
Yep, absolutely. Great question. So I'll answer it in 2 ways. Firstly, yes, we charge on a 3-second and we call a view 3 seconds on Facebook. Now, we've done, not we actually, Nielsen have done studies to understand that actually within the first 3 seconds, you can actually move ad recall and brand recall. Now, 3 seconds, the 3-second view as well as the mobile environment means that creatively you need to do things differently. Because in the old days of the TVC, what would tend to happen is that you have 30 seconds, for example, and you do mystery, 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 suspense, 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 climax at 25 seconds, brand logo reveal and key message at 29, 30 seconds. Because the mobile device is a discovery platform, and in order to drive that ad recall that Nielsen has found within the first 3 seconds, you need to deliver the branding and the key message up front. So it does require a different way of thinking of creative, right? The second part of that question is the best way, yes, absolutely, the best, most optimal way to understand the impact of your Facebook activities to your business results is running things like brand lift studies. Not necessarily do you need $100,000, but what you do need is a certain amount of money, a certain amount of investment that will allow sufficiency of reach and sufficiency of frequency to your target audience in order to move these business results. And that is at least 60% of the target audience at an average frequency of 2 per week. In order to run these studies and in order to run these studies confidently to move these business results. Anything short of that, actually us as trusted advisors to you and your agencies would challenge that. Right? And it's not necessarily $100,000. It's dependent on that target audience. Does that help? No?
Yeah, it does help. I think the reason why I've come to $100,000 is because in Australia, to reach 60% of mums on Facebook, it requires at least that minimal level of investment in some regards. I'm interested in what you said about the need to move away from focusing on the broad TVC kind of script approach. we see a lot of that advice from a lot of creative agencies, but they don't really walk the walk. Who are you partnering with in the Asia Pac region from a creative agency perspective? Because I don't think that's going to change unless the Ogilvies, if they're here, and the JWTs of the world that we work with, that we partner with very joyfully. You knew it was going to happen. I think it's going to be really hard unless the creative partners that we work with also help drive that, because I know, even with my own team, there's a bit of potential frustration or not knowing what they should do in that 3 seconds that they've got.
No, thank you for the question. My favorite kind of question is when a client and an agency is in the room and they say, who's the best agency in the market because we want to switch. That's great. The journey is 1% complete. Right, all of us here at Facebook are working as trusted advisors and educators to clients, media agencies, and creative agencies to kind of make this shift away from other things to mobile being the first screen. And yes, we have a creative shop team that really helps do that, and they can help ideate at scale. Sorry, they can ideate on a specific brief, but they can also run scaled education programs to teach the creative agency community. But it's not a one-time thing, right? We need to keep on educating, and that's what we're here to do. So is there, paraphrasing your question, is there a best creative agency around that understands this and knows this? We as an industry have a long way to go. Yeah. Yep. Sure. Yeah, sure. So again, the Canvas experience, I'm going to, please don't take this as gospel, but the best way I describe this, coming from a digital creative agency previously, is that it's the new version of the microsite for the mobile device, minus the development time, minus the buffering time. And if you think about a microsite, you can do anything with it, right, creatively. And with a canvas on Facebook on mobile, you can absolutely do a lot of different things as well. And it's really about immersing the brand, getting target audiences to be a lot more immersed in the brand within their first screen. And what we've seen through initial studies so far is that actually once people do interact with the post that they see and go into the canvas, they're there plus or minus on average about 30 seconds. Right, and so delivering different features of a product, you know, other interesting videos and related content, et cetera, et cetera. Nope. It's as long as you have different image assets, video assets, and copy, you're uploading that into our tool, and then the tool, and then you configure it in our tool, and the tool will put it together. So there is no development time. Yep.
Justin.
Just a quick one, Justin.
Yep.
Jeremy.
The last question. Thank you.
Last question.
Hey, Jeremy.
You were mentioning, you know, if I'm in Vietnam, the connectivity would be slow. Then is there a substitution of the canvas, or is not? Would that be just not available in those slow connection markets? So how is it being driven out? Like you mentioned about the autoplay then slide. And
yep.
When it comes to canvas.
Yeah, sure. So you'll be setting up campaigns to have different subsegments of a target audience. One of which might be 2G users, right? You might find that in Vietnam, there are a lot of your people in your target audience that are accessing Facebook on a 2G connection, right? Or not on Wi-Fi, or on a low end, or on a feature phone, for example. And so therefore, you then prepare assets that are ready for that subsegment of the target audience. And then a second segment of your campaign might be there might be a critical mass of smartphone users in Vietnam, and that's where you can start to deliver video content to them.